the Black Financial Channel who are also watching in the simulcast. It's theblackfinancialchannel.com, THE, that's theblackfinancialchannel.com. I want to address something really quickly that I saw in the media. I saw this article a while back and I've been wanting to talk about it for about 2 or 3 weeks now. I just haven't got around to it, but today I got around to it and I thought I would go ahead and knock it out now. I just finished running a few more miles in my marathon training, and so as I sit here with sore legs and sore feet and everything else, I thought I would just kind of analyze this and break this down to help dispel myths, that you're getting when it comes to your quest for economic excellence, your quest for black intelligence, your quest to grow and to build. One quick thought that I had is somebody asked me recently, and I'm gonna do a little video on this, but somebody was asking me, if you build a business, a black business, should you focus only on, trying to market to everybody? Like, is it a waste of time to have a business that focuses on serving the black community only because you're only getting black dollars, you're not getting white dollars? And a lot of people will say, they used to say that to me when we started the Black Business School. They said, oh, you should make the school for everybody because you're selling yourself short and you're missing out on opportunities. And I remember I used to say, no, that's not actually that's not true, because people have to know who you are. People, if you try to do everything for everybody, then you'll end up doing nothing for no one. You'll become nothing to nobody. No one will know how you're different from everybody else. So at the Black Business School, we make it 100% clear. We focus on the black community, solving black wealth problems in our community. If other people want to join, they can join. But we're all about black people, black wealth, black entitlement, black Wall Street. Every topic that's black and economic, we are experts on this. We are the world leaders at this. Now, the other thought on that too is, when you are running a business and you have black customers, you're not just getting black dollars. In many cases, you're getting white dollars that were going to be given away by black people. There are white businesses out of that 1.3 trillion in wealth. I'm willing to bet you that over a trillion of that 1.3 trillion is already going to white businesses or Asian businesses or European businesses or businesses from other countries and continents. And so when you get a black customer to redirect their black dollars, then that's basically a benefit to the community too. So for example, let's say black people give away $1 trillion in black wealth every year, right? We do that. We make 1.3 trillion. We give away about 1.2 trillion, I'm sure. And so let's say that we bring back 100 billion. 100, just a little less than 10% of that, maybe 8% of that money, and bring back 100 billion back into our community and circulate in our community. What do you think that's going to do for black people? What do you think is going to happen if we circulated another $100 billion in our community? Well, you're talking about thousands of jobs, you're talking about all kinds of opportunity, you're talking about a lot more people doing better than they would have been doing otherwise, right? So there's nothing wrong with having a business that serves black people. Well, sure, if you can serve everybody, that's cool. But some things, it's okay to focus on your own. The black community is severely underserved, and that's why we're here for you. And that's pretty much what we care about the most. Now, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share, subscribe button, and also shout out your city. Shout out your city. Care Fever says, we love you boys. Keep talking about Popeyes and wake everybody up. well, you know what? It's so funny. The Popeyes stuff is so controversial. Some people love it. Some people don't. I get a lot of hate mail over it. But just so you know, if the haters are watching, just know you ain't getting no love over here. You don't get no attention. In fact, actually, the fact that you're even here this much tells me how pathetic you are, because it tells me you ain't got shit else to do except sit around here and get mad about something I said. And don't get mad about what I said. Go say something yourself. Go talk on your YouTube channel. Go talk to your mama or something. Nobody care what you think. Anyway, I see New York City, Chicago, Jersey, and a few other cities. What's going on? Sacktown, Sibo, the rapper Sibo's out of Sacktown. Bet y'all didn't know that I knew that, but I love Sibo. He's a great rapper. All right, so let me read this article to you. There's this article written by some guy named Steve Rode, who is a consumer debt expert and firefighter, and he wrote this article in the Huffington Post. And here's the title of the article, which I thought was just the dumbest shit I've ever seen. I'm just telling you, that's my official finance professor language. You guys know my PhD's in finance. It's a real PhD. It took me, I was in school from age 18 to age 31. Like, I would literally school full-time, studying constantly, 8, 9, 10 hours a day, studying finances. So I know this stuff really, really well. So it kind of bothers me when people that don't know anything make idiotic statements like this. Because I think it's stupid. He says financial literacy is a dumb waste of time and money because it just doesn't work. Okay. First of all, let me just say this. Most people who say financial literacy, tell me, what do you think? Richard, I want you to say, rich or broke. If somebody walks up to you and says, financial literacy is a dumb waste of time, man, I don't even care nothing about financial literacy. Financial literacy don't mean nothing. Financial literacy is for suckers. Money management, man, that's for fools. Investing is for idiots. I don't invest nothing. Is that person gonna be rich or broke? Rich or broke? Pick which one. What do you think that person gonna be? Rich or broke? Ryan says broke. Trey says broke. Rob, I see you. Most wanted app. Rich or broke? Exactly. Broke. Right. Because only broke people say that financial literacy doesn't matter. Only broke people say that managing your money doesn't matter. Only broke people say that saving doesn't matter. Only broke people say that investing doesn't matter. People that are doing well financially got usually, especially if they're self-made, meaning that they started off with less and ended up with more. They will say, hell yeah, keeping my money is important. I watch my dollars. Oprah Winfrey and Bill Cosby were two people that were notorious for this. They watched their dollars. They signed every check. They didn't let their money just slide away. So people who talk like that, they're kind of like those people, like really obese people who have diabetes who say, man, eating healthy don't matter. Eating healthy is for suckers, man. I eat as much sugar as I can and as much grease and as fat as I can get my hands on. That's where it's at, man. Eating healthy, man, that don't do nothing for you. That don't help you out, right? It's just kind of stupid. So the title right there is just kind of crazy. And so anyway, I'm reading this article from this so-called financial expert at the at Huffington Post, which HuffPost should be embarrassed that they let somebody write an article like this. It says, it is alarming how we love simple solutions for complex problems. We want politicians to solve our ills in a soundbite, and we want money problems to go away with the class. The reality is that neither of those solutions is going to work. I once said, quote, blaming a lack of financial literacy for our economic ills is like saying that, that people don't understand diet, exercise, and moderation for obesity. Yet people continue to drone on and on. Actually, I do think diet, exercise, and moderation do matter for obesity, by the way. I was obese. I was obese. And when I thought about diet, exercise, and moderation, I wasn't obese anymore. Just when I started exercising I run, 2-3 miles each day on average. And do you think that has something to do with my weight coming down, or do you think that it happened because white Jesus decided to bless me? Like, what do you think? What do y'all think? Do you think that my personal decisions play some part in my outcomes, or do you think I just got lucky? Anyway, let me keep going. He says, yet people drone on and on about how if we just pushed more financial education classes down the throats of youngsters, it would somehow eliminate the need for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, stop all debt problems, and make people smarter about money. Yeah, it probably would, actually. Doesn't mean that there aren't policies that are problematic, but no, financial literacy does matter. It is my opinion, and you're right, it is an opinion, it's not a fact. It's my opinion that financial education alone will not work as a single source solution. Okay, I think that if you're arguing that debt will always be here and financial irresponsibility will always be here, that's true, right? Just like obesity will never go away just because you educate people about exercise, right? Exercise is a choice. When I was overweight, I knew what I needed to do to lose weight. I always knew. It was never a mystery to me. It was never something I had to go look up in the library. I knew that going to the gym would be better than not going to the gym. I knew that eating lettuce or celery would be better than, eating another bag of Cheetos. I just didn't give a shit, right? So basically, when you have a free society where people are free to make whatever decision they want to make, they're going to make this whatever decision they want to make. That's why, for example, in the Black Business School, we have a program called Black Millionaires of Tomorrow. That's our business school for children. If you have a child, you may want to take a look at that program. It's at blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. In blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com, we teach parents how to turn their children into millionaires with a model we call the KID model, which stands for knowledge, meaning financial literacy, investment, meaning putting money to the side for that child in the stock market on a consistent basis from the time when they're little, so they'll have assets to play with, and then discipline. Without the discipline, nothing works. So Rob is 100% correct. You need the literacy and you need the discipline, but you also need your tools and your weapons to get the job done. The tools and the weapons are money in the bank. Money in the bank, that's what the parents do. That's what the life insurance comes in. That's where you going ahead and making investments for your child comes into play. If you have a 4-year-old, go with that $5 a day investment plan. I got a book on Amazon on how to invest $5 a day. And I'm sure there's some video out there somewhere. You can go find it. Or if you go to theblackbusinessschool.com, theblackbusinessschool.com, and just talk to one of our enrollment specialists and say, I'm looking for Dr. Boyce's $5 a day plan. They can tell you where to find it. But the $5 a day plan basically shows how you can invest the same amount of money it costs y'all to go eat Popeye's chicken. We know black people can afford Popeye's chicken. Same amount of money it would cost to go buy Popeye's chicken. After you buy the chicken, you go buy you some assets. I'm not telling you not to buy the chicken, or I'm telling you go buy the chicken. But after you take a bite out of the chicken's ass, I need you to put the money into assets for your future, so that you can save your children's asses in the future, because children who don't have parents who invest for them end up financially screwed. They end up in big trouble later on because they're not prepared to compete with the rest of the world. So let's keep going. I like reading this article about this ridiculous white guy, because I want black people, because I know black people are smarter. We're the smartest when we get the right information. So let me break this down for you. It's my opinion that financial education will not work alone as a single source solution. In fact, it might even hurt more than help. That's stupid. The jury's still out if people who take financial literacy classes do better than those who don't. Not true. There are studies that show that if you understand something, you're going to be better at it than if you don't understand it. Okay, so really, that's like saying, let me ask you, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. If I'm a football player, do football players who practice tend to play better than football players who don't practice? Yes or no? Yes or no? If I'm a dancer, if I'm a trained dancer, am I going to be better than somebody who's not a trained dancer? If you go to war, are the soldiers who are trained and prepared going to be able to fight better than the soldiers who are untrained and unprepared and have never, ever known anything about battle in their lives? If I'm a parent, am I going to be a better parent if I am trained on parenting? Maybe I had a couple kids and babysat a lot of kids and talked to my parents about raising kids. Or am I going to be better if I just go into it blind, deaf, and retarded? Am I going to be better off if I just go into it blind and stupid? Like, seriously, that. This ain't calculus. This ain't rocket science that we're breaking down here. This is simple stuff, and I'm stunned at the degree to which. And usually you get this more so from liberals, unfortunately. The conservatives, they got their own shit, but that whole "Make America Great Again" stuff, that don't make no sense. But the liberals, their thing is they love to treat you like you're disabled, like it's always the system's fault, like there's nothing you could have done, like you got hooked on opioids because they made you do it. No, you chose to take them damn pills. Now, maybe they again, now mind you though, maybe they didn't give you a proper warning or whatever, which is an issue. But I know people who aren't hooked on anything because they're like, I'm not taking that shit. So anyway, let me keep going. The jury's still out if people, they might feel they know the information better, but that doesn't mean they really do. Confidence is not knowledge. I agree with that. And some tests of students who just completed financial literacy classes actually showed they scored lower than students who did not take the class. But here's the crazy thing. He doesn't cite any data. There is no link to a source that shows that this fact is true. I taught finance on college campuses for 20-something years. I taught at University of Kentucky, Indiana University, Syracuse University, the Ohio State University, and I taught in China. And one thing I can tell you is that if you took my class and you did your homework and you got an A in my class, you knew more than you did before you took the class. That's why you take classes. Now, there are some people who may take classes and become dumber because they took the class, but I think it's really extraordinary that somebody would actually argue that you're going to be dumber at something because you studied it. That just doesn't make any sense. And he says, giving consumers more knowledge, more information through financial education may only produce the illusion of knowledge. When people are given more information about investments, for example, they become overconfident in their ability to invest well, believing that the information gives them more knowledge. even when it does not. Okay, I already know what people think when I mention the illogical nature of the fallacy of financial literacy. They give me that cock-headed look and they think I have no idea what is coming out of my mouth, which is true. Yeah, that's pretty much true. How can financial literacy not be our simple savior to rescue people from future money troubles? Well, the complex answer to such a question is that financial literacy is not about money. The way we make financial decisions has more to do with our money personality. Now, that's true. That is a thing. There is such a thing as a money personality test. Our math skills, logical thinking, the ability to investigate, the confidence to ask questions and spot BS answers, and recognizing the unconscious influences in ourselves that have been studied by behavioral scientists. So I turn to some of the brightest people I know who understand these issues. If you don't believe me, then let's see what others have to say on the subject. Consumer debt expert Bob Sullivan said, quote, I got into an argument with one of my clients about this recently. All the behavioral studies are clear. Financial education hasn't really worked on a large scale. What we really need is to design our economy so people don't get ripped off. So there's a baseline of fairness. Beyond that, if someone seeks out smarts and does even better than average, becomes a Jedi master of credit cards and loans and rewards programs, that's great. But anyone who thinks a nice pamphlet is going to stop the next housing market collapse is kidding themselves. I do agree with that. That I do agree with. But I think that what is not true is that one of the reasons Americans are stuck in so much debt is because nobody really gives them the truth about what's lying down the road. I can guarantee you that the hundreds of thousands of people that watch my YouTube channel are more financially intelligent than the average American, far more financially intelligent than the average American. Why? Well, because I love taking things and that are out there and looking at what other people are saying to you and saying, okay, that's true, but that's bullshit. Don't you dare believe that stuff, right? Or talking about little things like student loan debt and how student loan debt is destroying black families, how black family wealth is being ruined. Black dollars are being turned into white dollars because all your family wealth ends up in the hands of a white university and all you get is bad credit and maybe a Popeye's chicken sandwich, right? So ultimately, or you can talk about other things, like gambling, what gambling can do with your money. I like to warn people about things like that, vices, and that's more personality based. I think in terms of talking about how you make your money, I love talking to young people and saying like, you could make your money by like going to work for somebody else, but here's how rich people make their money, right? And here's their line of thinking, here's the approach that they take. And what I find is that for black people anyway, because we've had to adapt to so much, we're smart. We pick it up. We pick things up fast. Like the black people who pick things up are smarter than the average bear because we pretty much know that we're kind of on our toes and have to worry about struggling and surviving in this world. So when black folks really get it, we really get it. And so what's happened is that you've got a massive movement of people that are just like on their shit just when it comes to understanding wealth and ownership. And I love what we do in the Black Business School because we break things down into the three pillars of wealth. The three main pillars of wealth are real estate, stock and bond investing, and entrepreneurship. And we've made it real clear to families. Make sure your children own shares of stock at an early age. Just get one of those apps and buy them $10, $20 worth of stock and buy them a little bit every week or every month. And then to make sure they learn the basics of buying a home or at least learning, that owning is better than renting, right? That way, if they're renting, they don't feel comfortable as a renter. They feel like, okay, I got to find a way to own. And then entrepreneurship, which is critical for you as a black person because most of y'all hate your damn jobs. A lot of y'all don't like working for white people. And if you didn't have to, you wouldn't do it. So ultimately, I think, that there are some basic ideas that can be spread en masse that will change a person's behavior. Like you'd be amazed how little tiny messages can shift the whole trajectory of a child's life. Like, I knew a guy who was an excellent entrepreneur by the age of 30. He was a millionaire by the time he was 30. And I said, where'd you learn how to, to run a business so well? And I said, well, what? He said, I got it from my dad. And I said, well, was your dad an entrepreneur? He said, no, my dad was a truck driver. I said, really? So what did your dad teach you? He said, my dad just told me every black man who wants to be free needs to learn how to run his own business. So when he went to college, he just said, I need to learn how to run my own business because I want to be free. I don't want anybody telling me what to do, right? So ultimately for us as black people, I think that financial literacy is critical. I think that making it part of our culture is important. That way, if people are doing the wrong thing, it's one thing if you do the wrong thing and you know it's the wrong thing. It's another thing when you do the wrong thing and you think you're doing the right thing. Black people get caught in two ways, right? Either we have people that don't know what to do and they just do what they can to get by. Then you have people who do know what to do and they just choose to do something different. And then you have black people who do know what to do and they do the right thing. So I believe that a lot of the people who don't know, if you tell them, if you explain it to them, that's why when I go on a show like The Breakfast Club, I literally will get messages every time I go on the Breakfast Club. Charlamagne asked me to come back. I think I'll go back in October when I do my when we do our next seminar in New York. But every time I go on the Breakfast Club, I get a ton of emails from people, some of whom didn't even finish high school, and they're like, "I want to do better for my family. I want to do better for my kids." Well, why is that? Does that not surprise me? That doesn't surprise me at all. Why? Well, because economic survival is not something that only rich people want to have. That is something that poor people desire the most. That is something that that a lot of young brothers understand because they out here hustling. They out here trying to make a dollar, trying to figure it all out. A lot of black women, are strong and smart like their grandmothers were, and they want to take care of their children. They want to make good decisions. So ultimately, I think that financial literacy. I think that we have to look at what the world's doing and then figure out what we're going to do and make sure that what we do is separate and unique in terms of us solving our specific problem within our specific community. I think if we do that, then we're going to be in good shape. What you don't want to do is you never want, as a black person, you should be very skeptical as a black person of any success formulas that are given to you by your oppressor, because your oppressor did not build his or her wealth by encouraging you to be free. Your oppressor built their wealth by using you first from slavery, then from Jim Crow, incarceration, NCAA, black employees, all of that. So it doesn't mean that you can't partner with them, but a lot of their so-called formulas for success, if you look at the history and the trajectory and the track record, they just don't work. Like for example, I saw obviously we saw the Popeye's chicken craze, right? Everybody was talking about the Popeye's chicken stuff, and y'all heard me say a lot about that this week. But then I saw something where Janelle Monáe made a comment about setting up voter registration booths at the Popeye's chicken, places where the people had the long lines. And Don Lemon actually said the same thing. I saw Don Lemon's Twitter. And Don Lemon said something about voter registration booths. And not that I disagree with it, but I was sitting here and I was thinking, like, actually, rather than, voter registration cards, I think that black people need things like capital for our community so that we can build businesses and create jobs and fix up our neighborhoods. Like, I don't think black people want programs. They don't want more jobs. They don't want more Democrats in office. I mean, I don't really know of any example. You tell me about any example of cities where, the black communities were transformed because some Democrat in office really went in and saved the day. I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't vote. I'm not telling you not to vote. I'm just saying do things that make sense. That's it. Just question everything. Question it and just say, okay, they telling me to do this. I'm trying to figure out if it makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, then I don't think you should do it. Like Warren Buffett as an investor, one of his rules is that if he doesn't understand it, he won't invest in it. He won't invest his money. He won't invest his time. So I think for yourself, if you don't understand it, then don't do it. Don't invest in it. Say, I'll invest in it when I understand it. When you show me how, if you think about something like voting or even investing, even the stuff that I tell you, I could be feeding you a bunch of bullshit. So don't believe it because I said it. Believe it because you heard it and you added you said, okay, 2 plus 2. Okay, that really is 4. Okay, I get it now. I get it. Then you go along with it, but don't go along with it just because I said it, because that's a good way to get suckered, especially if your teacher is the white man, because he's been suckering your ass since slavery. I mean, he's been lying to us since the beginning of time. So I think that for all of us, a lot of our most successful, most intelligent black people who have the most millionaire potential, they never get a chance to experience that because they get hemmed up in following this sort of white man formula for success. Well, Todd, you're a great student. You should join this program and make good grades in high school, and maybe then you'll get into big white man university. Now you only have to borrow $30,000 a year in order to go to school here, but you get that degree, you're gonna be in good shape. You can go work at IBM or Toyota or some other big company not owned by black people, and then you can move to the suburbs and bring down the property values in your own neighborhood. Because my God, who would ever want to live around those black people, right? Your goal is to get out of the hood so you can go live in the suburbs and work for a big white company. So basically you're telling Todd a few things. One, you're telling him to attend institutions that are going to indoctrinate him deeply into white culture and white formulas for success. Two, you're telling him to go and commit a bulk of his family wealth to a white university in exchange for validation. No different from the way the the Crusaders, the Christians used to go over to Africa, and they would get them to like do all these things in order to get food. But they, next to the food, they'd have like a Bible, and they'd be like, your goal is to become a Christian, right? You get baptized, that means you've actually made it, right? So they're going to baptize you in whiteness at these white universities. Not that they're all bad, but a lot of, well, the older I get, the more I analyze the way people think on the campuses, and I'm like, wow, these are nothing more than programming centers. They program your thinking. Like, for example, if you're a conservative and you go to a white university, most universities will not accept your ideas if you're a conservative or if you're too black. Like, so for example, there were some black college students that wanted to bring in me and Farrakhan and Tariq Nasheed and some people like that. They got a lot of resistance because they were like, well, Farrakhan's homophobic and Dr. Watkins is too radical and Tariq Nasheed is too this, right? But the thing is that the black people that they would have accepted were their more acceptable Negroes, you know, the ones that are on TV, the ones that have been validated by white America, right? So again, what I'm really trying to say to you is that a lot of what you're given as your formula for success is actually a formula for incarceration. Because then, so once Ty graduates, he's sitting on $100,000 in debt that he'll never repay. Half of all black college graduates can never repay their debt. They default on it. And when you default on student loan debt, you can't write that off in a bankruptcy. That will just stay on top of you until you die, right? So you've given away all your family, and then when you die, they'll go dig into your estate and take the money out, right? So basically, you're giving your family wealth away in exchange for this certificate, and this little golden ticket is what opens you up to possibly getting a job working for a white person. So it's like you're being elevated to a different level of slavery. And what a lot of these young grads have said, and I've seen this 1,000 times, is they get the degree, they go get the job, and they're like, damn, I hate this. But here's your problem. You can't survive on your own. If you leave that job, you don't know what to do because you never learned the skill that you really need as a black person. The skill that you need as a black person is not just how to go take a test and get a degree. The skill you really needed was survival. The skill you really wanted was to know how to make money. You know, so black education needs to be focused on how to make money, so in an ethical way, so you can bring it back to the hood and go back. Like, to me, an ideal, here's a perfect life for a black person. I'm gonna tell you, here's a perfect, if you ask me like, what's a dream life? Like, if I could be a baby all over again and be raised this way, here's how I want to be raised. I don't want to be raised in an environment where I was either homeschooled or schooled at a place that was like home, where I got to be with my black friends every day, with black teachers who loved us, who were teaching us about the pride of being black, about black history, all the great things that happened in Africa. I would have gave zero fucks about George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and all the other bullshit. I would want to know all about Africa, know where every African country was, all the great African leaders, all 300,000 years of African history, and then we'd learn about Europe. Maybe we'd have Europe week or something. We'd spend like a week learning about Europe, but I'd want everything to be black and African American and all about the pride of being black. That's first thing I want. And then also it'd be centered on a bed of love, just teachers that just love me, and I'm like, oh, that's Miss So and So. She's like my second mama, right? You know, like that to me would have been a wonderful way to go to school, and I would have embraced that. I would have looked forward to going to school. I hated going to school. Did anybody else hate going to school when you were little? Did anybody else really hate going to school when you were a child? Like where you felt like you were going to the penitentiary? I did. I felt like I was going to prison every morning. I hated going to school. I hated it. My grades were terrible. All those damn white teachers were always telling me that I was a piece of shit, that I was stupid, that I wasn't going to amount to anything. That's how they fuck over your kids. That's how they destroy them early, is they tell your little black boy that he's dumb and he's a troublemaker and he needs to be put on drugs and that's what they do, because a lot of the schools are just prisons on training wheels. You know, so second thing I would have wanted, if I could raise myself, is I would have wanted to be put in an environment where not only could I be accelerated academically, because I was always gifted, I just had terrible grades, so they didn't know I was good. They thought I was stupid because I didn't pay attention. I wouldn't listen to those white people, but I was very gifted. Clearly, I mean, I have a PhD. I was the only African American on the planet to get a PhD in finance during the year 2002. During that year, I was the only African American on Earth to get a PhD in finance that year. So I clearly wasn't a dummy, right? And I was probably pretty smart. So anyway, so the thing was, I would have loved it if I could have been in a nurturing environment where instead of being encouraged to go and compete in football and basketball and track and all that, which I did, I was good at all the sports. The white schools made me feel like that's all I could do. Whereas I would love to be in a black environment where they would have said, okay, good, all those things are great, but we want you to also compete in the academic Olympics. We want you to be, compete in the mathematics championships. Like I would have loved the chess championship. You know what I mean? Like that would have been fun for me. And then I would have loved the challenge of like being pushed to maybe learn high school and college level work at the age of 10 or 11 to see if I could go to, to get a scholarship to MIT or something at the age of 12 or 13. I think I would have been motivated by that kind of thing, and I believe I could have done that in the right environment. It's a matter of nurturing, right? And then here's the other important thing I would have loved to have gotten as a kid. I would have loved it if I was taught to invest at an early age and taught to start a business at an early age. Because once I learned to invest and start a business, and maybe if somebody had a little capital and helped me flip some property, and I saw that fast money coming in that came from knowledge and not from breaking my back, working for some white man every day, I would never work for anybody ever for the rest of my life. I would have made my first million by the age of 16 and lived happily ever after, and spent the rest of my life pursuing my passion, doing what I wanted to do, looking for the next great business idea, looking for the next great money move, moving capital from place to place. I would not have spent my time running around chasing behind my oppressor, begging for a goddamn job. Would be a depressing life compared to the life that ideally I would like to have had. If I had a child right now, that's how I'd raise that child. I'd raise them in an environment of blackness and love. I'd make sure they knew reading, writing, math at a very high level. I would also make sure they learned business at a very high level, the 3 pillars of wealth: stock investing, entrepreneurship, real estate. And I would also challenge that child to be the absolute best they could be academically and otherwise. And you teach that kid how to make money at an early age, it's a wrap at that point. At that point, they're unfit for slavery, and they're always looking for big opportunities now because you taught them to think big. There's nothing like making a business deal when there's nothing like the feeling the first time you do a business deal and you make like some insane amount of money, like $10,000 in a day. And then you're like, oh my God, I didn't know people could really do this. Then at that point, you're like, man, I ain't trying to go work for $100 an hour. Like, who wants to do that? Like seriously, I've seen people go through that transformation, or where somebody has a really good idea, like they might make a hair formula or something, and they figure out they can make it for $1 a bottle, and people will pay $12 a bottle for it. And then somebody teaches them a process on how to sell it and how to move units, and next thing you know, they're making $80,000 a month. And like it's an amazing thing. It's like being sort of exposed to this whole new world that you never knew was out there, And so I think financial literacy is critical for Black people. But when I'm talking about financial literacy, I'm talking about just understanding what money is, how money functions in your life, what your relationship with money is, and where the money's at, how to go get it, and how to use it to create whatever life you want for yourself, and that's what I want you to do. So again, with your kids, just give them those 3 pillars: stock investing, real estate, entrepreneurship. If your child isn't, if our Black boys were as good at entrepreneurship as they were at football and basketball, then we would have no money problems at all. We would have no money problems at all. If we figured out how to just let's keep say 10% of that 1.3 trillion that we spend every year in our own community, that's $130 billion a year that would come into the Black. 130 billion. I don't think a reparations package is going to be more than $100 billion, right? So if we could give ourselves reparations every year forever, if we just keep that money in our community. So the idea is not so much a matter of getting more white dollars. The idea is getting Black dollars to stop turning into white dollars. When you reduce the number of Black dollars that are turning into white dollars, then you're increasing the number of Black dollars. I hope that makes sense. All right, so do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button, share button, and subscribe button. I've been talking to you guys about investing in the stock market and everything else. So something that's online that you can feel free to enjoy, use for your family is if you want to learn how to buy your first share of stock go to blackmoney100.com. That's blackmoney100.com, 100. We have financial flashcards that we have for children, entrepreneurship flashcards. Here's a box right here. We have a lot of, there's a big stack of them, and they have black people on the cards, and the cards basically explain entrepreneurship concepts. Like, let me see, I'll just randomly grab one. Like, here's one that has an LLC, so it explains what an LLC is. And it says a corporate structure in which the members of the company cannot be held personally liable for the company's debts or liabilities. Let's see, what's another one here? Here's one on the Small Business Administration. What is seed capital? What is a sole proprietorship? And so in every case, there's a person of color on the or black person on the image. So if you want to check out our flashcards and workbooks that we have in place, you can go to financialworkbooks.com. That's financialworkbooks.com. So we have a lot of tools that you can use because in the Black Business School, one of our secret weapons is that we're trying to convince you to educate the entire family and to start your children into business school at an early age. And if you do that early, you get them making money early, then your kids are going to be well ahead of everybody else. There won't even be a catch-up process because everybody else will be trying to catch up with them. So just follow those models and do, just do what you got to do, man, because it's not easy out here when you're struggling and begging and, trying to find a way to survive and everybody hates you, but if you're smarter than everyone else, then you can find a way to survive. But you just gotta love yourself enough to have the courage to be a little bit different. And I'm telling you, everything that black people are being taught is pretty much an economic death trap. And I feel sorry for people that don't understand what's going on, because the people that get hit the hardest a lot of times are the people who are trying the hardest to get out of it. Like for private universities, all they do is they take advantage of that person in the hood who heard that going to college is going to make their life better. So they sign up for any damn thing and they go and they'll borrow $50,000 to go to some shitty school that will give them a worthless degree. And then next thing you know, they're in debt and they can't repay that debt. I know people that went to those schools for a year and a half or whatever, and they're sitting on $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in debt, and their credit is horrible, and they'll never get a chance to really do much of anything in their life. It's like it's knocking you out of the game. They're literally chopping your ankles off, and you're trying to run a race, and you don't even have feet anymore. You got these little nubs on your feet because they chopped your feet off. Let me see here. Somebody said, I love you, Dr. Boyce, but your arm hair is gray as fuck. I agree. Look at that, all that gray hair. That's all right, but it's okay. You know what? But I've been working out, so I'm in good shape. Bet you can't beat that. But anyway, let me go to bed, guys. I'm going to go to bed. So you guys take care. Have a good night. Hit the thumbs up button before you go. I love you. And yep, that gray is wisdom. That's what that is. That's wisdom. So if I didn't have the gray, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you as much as I can tell you now. And I just want you to be smart, and I want you to do what's best for your family, and I want you to be happy. That's really, at the end of the day, that's all I care about. So if you hear something from me that does not make sense, or something that does not seem to be true for you, or something that does not work for you, it's okay to ignore me, right? It's okay, right? But at the same time, I'm telling you, I think about these things obsessively, and there are areas where I think I figured out formulas for black success. And in fact, I think I know strategies we can apply that would create mass amounts of black success across the board. I just really kind of am hoping I can, like, if I can go raise maybe $10 million, you would see me really implementing some things that would be worldwide, that I think would really be massive, like, in terms of getting bang for the buck and everything else. I'm pretty good at that. So anyway, I'm about to get out here, guys. Please hit the thumbs up button. Love you too, Rush and Ralph and the Gold Mouth. I appreciate you as well. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Let me go to bed. Talk to you later. Peace.